Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at a new deck featuring new Bryn Stars cards that is very similar in functions of the cards to an old deck and a deck that is still good today in the Legacy format, which is Virizion Genesect. For those of you who don't know very much about Virizion Genesect, it's probably one of the most dominant decks since Mew. It saw play for almost the entire time that Virizion EX and Genesect EX was legal. And like I just mentioned, it sees play even in Legacy format still. So Virizion Genesect was a really good deck, and there were some specific functions of the cards that made that deck, and we have some of those functions back in Standard. You just might not really know of them. But one of them is going to be the Arceus V-Star, the Virizion EX for 2 grass energy. I believe it did 50 damage, and then you get to search your deck for 2 grass energies and attach them to your board. Arceus kind of does the same thing, where you get to search your deck for 3 basic energy and attach them to your Pokemon V. So yeah, it's kind of like almost the exact same attack, except this is better than Virizion because well, maybe it's not better. Virizion had an ability that said your grass Pokemon are infected by special conditions, or maybe maybe it was just your Pokemon are affected by special conditions, or something along those lines. But I think Hypnotoxic Laser was a card in that time as well, so your Genesect EXs could not get Hypnotoxic Lasered. But Arceus has Starbirth, which just starts to search your cards, so probably better than the ability of Virizion EX. But Stringy Nova, which for 2 energy attachments like Virizion EX, because you have the double turbo energy, does 200 damage. Then you can search your deck for 3 basic energy to attach to your Pokemon V. So we're running a 4-3 line of that. And this is the Virizion, like I've been talking about. Like, this is like the Virizion part of the new Virizion Genesect deck. So yeah, we're running a 4-3 line of Arceus V-Star. And then going into the only other Pokemon we have in the deck, and this is going to be the Genesect part, which is the Umbreon VMAX. Now, unlike the Virizion Genesect deck, Umbreon is not the main attacker. This is more of an Arceus-focused deck than it is an Umbreon-focused deck. But Genesect had an ability that when you attach a Plasma Energy card from your hand to it, you just get to Gust Up one of your opponent's Pokemon. Well, Umbreon's ability is when you evolve it, you get to Gust Up one of your opponent's Pokemon. And the attack is just 3 energy for 160, which is not nearly as good as Genesect. I think Genesect did like 120, or maybe it was just 100, and you sank 30 to the bench. Umbreon is just 3 energy 160, but the Umbreon VMAX stack does cost a double turbo energy as well as a darkness energy, so you can use that for 2 attachments. But the thing that makes the Umbreon most like the Genesect is we actually have a G-Booster for our new Genesect. G-Booster was an A-Spec tool card that you could attach only to a Genesect EX. But it gave the Genesect EX an attack that for 2 grass and a colorless does 200 damage. You discard 2 energy from the Pokemon, and then it goes through all effects. And we actually have something like that in Standard, and it is called Super or Scroll of the Fanged Dragon, which is a single strike scroll. It can only be attached to single strike Pokemon. And our only single strike one in the deck is Umbreon VMAX, and it's also a Genesect, so we kind of have a G-Booster back in Standard, but this Scroll of Fanged Dragon gives the single strike Pokemon it's attached to an attack that for fighting metal, colorless, quite a hefty attack cost, but then we also have our Arceus in the deck to sell those energies, does 300 damage, and you have to discard all energy in this Pokemon. It's almost the same thing, except you do have to discard all the energies, which can potentially not be great, but if you are using it when you're getting a 1-hit KO and a VMAX for 3 prizes, it can not be a huge deal, especially when you can just go back into Arceus, which can just attack for 2 attachments. In terms of supporters, I forgot to mention one thing about the Umbreon. I think one of the strongest points of Arceus V-Star is being able to just put Arceus, some double turbos, and Choice Belt in the deck. You're probably already playing Boss's Orders. You can just turn any deck into a Victini deck that wants to turn 2, boss up, something on the bench that your opponent wants to evolve, their turn 2, and knock it out. And since you have Starbirth to consistently do that, you can basically just slot in a Victini deck into any deck you want, which I think is a big power part of Arceus. But with our Umbreon, we can just evolve it and then Gust up on our opponent's bench Pokemon. It allows us to play Draw Supporter and Gust on turn 2, which is really, really great. It also allows us to Gust and Sharon's Care in the same turn as well. Okay, going into supporters for research, which is standard as well as for Marnie. We just want to have one thing I really think is good in Arceus decks is having as many consistency draw supporters as possible. So you don't have to use your Starbirth at the beginning of the game every single time, because if you save your Starbirth till the end of the game and you're setting up, you will most likely win that game every single time, because you will have the resources to search out what you want whenever you want, so you can get the game-winning cards. So I'm just playing max like consistency and draw in Arceus decks that can play it and do need it is going to be really, really good, because you want to try and conserve that Starbirth and not use it if you really have to. We're playing 2 Busted Orders, because remember we also have that Umbreon Gust as well. 1 copy of Sharon's Care, which can just turn 1 of your colorless Pokemon that has damage into your hand. And I think this card is actually like really underrated in Arceus decks. I think this card should be at least a 1 of in every single Arceus deck. Just being able to pick up on your Pokemon that is 280 HP and is worth only 2 prices is insane. And yeah, I just think this card should see more play. And we're just playing 1 of them in here because we can. We're playing Pokegears as well. So 1 copy of Raihan, because the Scroll of the Fanged Dragon does cost 5 energy, and if you accelerate 3 energy from your deck with Arceus to your Umbreon, it gets knocked out. You only have 4 energy on there plus your turn attachment. Now you can use double turbo energy to pay the 2 colorless in the Super Strong Stats attack, but it does decrease your attack cost by 20, making it go down to 280, which still can one-shot a V-Star, but if you're trying to one-shot a V-Max, it can't, so you're going to need to have all basic energies on there, and that is where the Raihan will come in. Also, we're playing 2 copies of Single Strike Energy, which means we can attach a Single Strike Energy to our Umbreon, pay 1 of the fighting or 1 of the double colorless in the attack cost, and then do an extra 20, so we can do 320 and one-shot a V-Max. Moving into our items, you have 4 copies of Ultra Ball. Should seem pretty standard, because Ultra Ball is just a really good card. 4 copies of Pokegear 3.0, which is slightly different, something you might not expect. We are running these just because you can get out supporters, you can get out your Marnies if you have to, you can find your couple one-off supporters like your Sharon's Care, which I mentioned is really good, and then Raihan as well, which is really good in certain situations. Then we're running more search outs and 3 copies of Quick Ball, and 2 copies of Evo Incense as well, because our entire deck is 2 evolution lines, so we're going to want to be able to get out our evolution Pokemon, but we don't need full 4 Evo Incense because we have Ultra Balls as well. 2 copies of Switch, so you can switch around. Like I mentioned, if your Arceus doesn't get knocked out, you can retreat into Umbreon, attack, discard all your energy with the Super Strong Slash, attack of the Scroll of the Fanged Dragon, and then go back into your Arceus again, so you're going to want to switch if you're planning on doing that. 1 copy of Ordinary Rod, so we can get back energies. We also have 4 copies of Training Core as well to get back energy, but this puts them back in the deck, so you can re-accelerate them out of the deck with Arceus. Moving on to our tools, 2 copies of the new G-Booster, which is 2 copies of the Scroll of the Fanged Dragon, which, like I mentioned, you can only attach to single strike Pokemon, but it gives a single strike Pokemon an attack that from fighting, metal, colorless, the spinner damage, and you discard all the energy from this Pokemon. So, attach the Umbreon, discard all the energy, and one-shot a VMAX with the single strike energy. Now, you actually can attach your choice spell to the Umbreon to do 330 and not needing a single strike energy, because the Scroll of the Fanged Dragon is already a tool, which means that, of course, your choice spell will not work. Or you just can't attach your choice spell in the first place. So I originally had 3 in the list, now we're only running 2, because I feel like most of the time you are going to be wanting to put that single strike Scroll of the Fanged Dragon on your Umbreon, or a Big Charm, which can be attached to either your Arceus or your Umbreon, just give them a little more HP, help survive things like your Arceus can help survive Mew. Or even Urshifu will be like 10 damage off. They probably have damage modifiers, but you can force them to find that damage modifier. Stadiums is 4 Training Core, like I mentioned. You can get back your energy because you do have to discard all of them with your Scroll of the Fanged Dragon attack, and you need a Path of Defeat counter because each of your evolving Pokemon has an ability, and they are all rule boxes. So definitely going to need some path counters. In terms of energy for Double Turbo, you can see you cutting down on this, but it can also be used to use the Scroll Defang Dragon attack, Super Strong Slash, and you could do 280, knock out a V-Star in one hit. So it's still useful with the Super Strong Slash. But also, we also need some basic energy to search out the deck with Arceus and to use Super Strong Slash with. So we are having 4 copies of Metal Energy, 2 copies of Basic Fighting Energy, and then 2 copies of Single Strike Energy to round out the list. We're only running 6 basic energy you can accelerate with Arceus, and we're running 4 Metal 2 Fighting, but technically it's also 4 Fighting because we have the 2 copies of Single Strike Energy. But also you do need to keep in mind that the Single Strike Energy can only go on your Umbreon, so it does reduce your chances of getting an energy attachment down on your Arceus turn 1, which is really important in this deck. So if you want to cut Single Strike Energy, maybe one of them, and add another basic energy, that would probably be fine. If you want to add an energy search is also something I didn't consider. But yeah, that's going to do it for the list we just entered here on the screen. But yeah, that's going to do it for the video. Hope you guys liked it. If you guys did, don't forget to leave a like. If you guys want to see more content, don't forget to subscribe. Hopefully do more Brilliant Stars videos. I have a whole load of decks built that I'm waiting to do videos on, but decided to do one on this today because I thought this was just a really cool thing, like new Virizion Genesect. But yeah, that's going to do it. Hope you guys liked it.